Well, these guys set me up really well for this talk that's coming next. So there'll be some nice tie-ins that you'll be able to connect. So my name is Jodi Jones, and I am an organizer of DevOps Days in Des Moines, Iowa. If you're looking for another conference or if you want to submit a talk, our call for speakers is open. I also had the fortune to meet some of the organizers from DevOps Days Raleigh this summer when we were at a global organizer summit. So organizers of DevOps Days from around the world came together in Chicago and talked to each other and shared ideas about how to run DevOps Days, tips, tricks, what works in their city. And it was a really nice place. So it was a really nice intro to the Raleigh community, and I'm really excited to be here today. I am a product and delivery consultant for Lean Techniques, and I have spent most of my career working with teams on how to deliver software, so on the delivery side. And then the last 3 years, I've been working on the product side, and so I've been learning more about how to decide what the right thing to build is. Not only like how to build it right and deliver it to your customers, but making sure that you're building the right products for your customers. So Carlos had a nice tip at the end of his talk, like make sure your customer's in the room with you when you're building, and you'll hear some of those threads throughout today. So I'm going to talk about planning and uncertainty. So I'm going to see if this stuff looks familiar to anybody up there. So there's some laughs. Okay, I'm going to see which ones are sticking with you all. Which one made you chuckle? Building something that was never used? Yeah? 3+ meetings. 3 meetings or in a day, or like you are scared to open your inbox because like you're going to have a lot of people asking you like, when are you going to be done with the thing? Swagging the estimates, right? Sometimes we're just working to like get out of that planning meeting. Like, or if you sit in a big room planning, some organizations do these big room planning events, and you're just ready to get out of there because no matter how much time you plan or how much you put into that project plan, you know the minute you walk out that door, something's going to change, and it's all going to like pivot on you. So these are all like behaviors in our organizations, and I'm kind of curious if I ask you, why do you think we do those things? Like, why do we do this stuff?
Nobody knows what they want.
Okay, nobody knows what they want.
It's always what we've done in the past.
It's what we've done in the past. What the bosses want. There's something out here. You need to do something. You have to stay busy. Maybe. Like, it's better to have a plan even if it's a bad plan. Okay, something like that. Well, all of those are like very, very valid like justifications for why we do these things. One of the things that I've learned is that we crave this certainty, right? So we don't want to be constantly trying to predict what's happening next. So we want this security of like, we know what the next thing we're going to do is, right? Because if we're always thinking about what's next, like that's very taxing on you. So an example I'll use is like, how many of you drove to this conference this morning? Or you drive to work, maybe if you don't work from home. You probably drive a route that's familiar. You know where you're going to turn next. Maybe sometimes you don't even remember driving to where, and all of a sudden you're there, right? So those are things that are like comfortable, common, and you know them. Now imagine you're driving in somewhere like unfamiliar, right? And we might have to do a little bit of like, pretend your phone died and you don't have access to GPS or something, but like driving in a big city like Chicago, I don't know. I hate driving in Chicago because I'm nervous on every turn. I'm like, do I turn here? Oh, what if I miss the turn? Like, will I get lost? Will I end up in somewhere I wasn't intended to go? will I get there on time? When I get there, where do I need to park? Like I'm like nervous because I don't know, and I'm like predicting like, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? So we feel more comfortable when something is known to us and when it's certain. But that doesn't happen a lot in our work. And so we have to figure out how to deal with uncertainty. So what I'm going to give you today is a couple models that will help you frame the problem space that you're working in. And then we'll go into a few different tools that you can use with your teams. The first model I want to share is the Cynefin framework. Has anybody seen or heard of this one before? A couple people have. So the first thing I learned about this is that you say Cynefin, but do not try to pronounce this like phonetically. Like it is like not possible. This is from Dave Snowden, and he came up with these like 4 domains that you can classify any problem into. And the first one is clear. So when you're in a clear domain, the example I'll use is I'll kind of go with the driving again. So this is a place where you can like observe your situation, categorize it, and you can make the right answer. So for example, we drive on the right-hand side of the road. I'm in the United States. We drive on the right-hand side of the road. I've made the correct decision about where to drive. Say I go on a trip. My sister went to Australia. Yeah. Oh, I observe where I'm at. We are in Australia. They drive on the left-hand side of the road. So I drive on the left-hand side of the road. I've made the correct like choice there. It's not easy to drive on the left, I've learned. That's like actually terrifying. However, that's like a problem space where you can like just quickly assess your situation and make the decision. Next is the complicated domain, and in complicated, this is where things are deterministic. And what you need to do here is you can do some analysis. So you can analyze with your experience, with your knowledge, with your skills. You can analyze the situation, and you can come up with a plan for that problem. So this one, like an example would be in this conference room right now, this group of us, I believe, we could make a plan to disassemble all of these tables, chairs, whatever, scatter the parts throughout the room, and we could make a plan for how to get them built back together and put back in order, right? Like it might take some coordination. Some people might have this task to do. Some people might have that task to do. But we could make a plan to achieve that with relative certainty. So problems at work that might fall in this space might be like a project that you have done before, or something that requires coordination across, 2, 3, or multiple teams. You can kind of use your experience, come up with the right answers, and plan your way through that. The next domain is complex, and this is where I find my teams are often in this space. We are, let's check the time here. So we are building something that we don't know how to build yet. We don't know how to, maybe we learned something at this conference, I don't know. I saw somebody's talk on Knative. I don't know Knative, but maybe we need to learn how to use that in our environment, right? At our company, in our context. Maybe we don't know yet like how our customers are going to use our product. Like we have an idea, but we don't know how they're going to use it, and that could change everything. So this is where you're sensing the situation, and then you're responding based off of what you learn. This is a space also where all the analysis in the world and planning will not get you there. You have to act and then respond based off of what you learn. This is where I feel like a lot of product teams are today. And then the chaotic domain is when you're in an emergency state and you have to act first. Don't worry about planning. So if there was, like, let's say there was an emergency in this building, or some event happened. I don't know if you have tornadoes here. I don't know. We have tornadoes in Iowa. But like, if there was a tornado, we would act. Like, we wouldn't sit around here and plan how to get ourselves to safety, right? We would act first, and then after we were all safe and everyone was like taken care of, we might like reflect back and like make a plan for like, okay, we need to make sure we communicate where the exits are, and shelter, all that. Like, we would do that after everyone was safe. So sometimes you find yourself in this spot at work too, right? Like, sometimes you have to act quickly, and then you reflect back. So some of those might be like some sort of critical outage or something, right? You're acting to resolve the problem. So these domains help you with your problem space. So if you're at work and you have a problem, you can ask yourself, like, which domain does this fit into? The ones that are on the right, the ones that you can plan, go ahead and plan those and do whatever sort of planning method you have, but know that the same type of planning will not serve you well in the domains that are on the left. Okay, that's one model. The next one I'm going to share is called the Rumsfeld model. I hear some laugh. Okay. So this is a model that came from, we have the phrase, right, like David Rumsfeld, right? Donald Rumsfeld? Donald, yeah. So he used this, right? And he was saying, like, there are unknown unknowns, right? And so when you think about this for your product teams, you have the things that you know, you have the things that you don't know, and then you sort of have this overlapping space in the middle. Like, you know that you don't know it, right? And the things that you don't know, that's where you should be learning, right? So I have a story of a team I was working with, and I know someone just said never re-platform something or build a new platform. We had a team that was like re-platforming an application. So maybe not a platform in the sense that maybe you're thinking of it, but we're moving from like this like system to this one because, I don't know, it was better, easier to maintain. We had these really, we have great hopes for re-platforming or rewriting a system. And as we were planning through this project, we weren't actually aware that we were doing this model, but we were. So we were like going through and saying, like, what do we know how to move? What applications do we know how to move from this portal like that we had to this new platform that we want our users to? So we kind of did like these like high effort, high value, low effort. And we were just taping stuff on the wall. And we got to a point where it was like things that we knew how to do and had high value, we were able to just sort of sketch out our plan, like how we were going to tackle those, like this one first, that one next, this one next. And that there was things that we're like, well, don't really know how to do that one. We could probably figure it out, but I'm not sure how we're going to plan for that. Like, how are we going to plan for that? And some of the developers that were sitting in the room with us, they're like, you know what, Jodi, we're just going to hop out here. We're gonna hop out of this planning session, and we're gonna try to figure this out like right now. And so they just stepped out. They figured out how to like do this, make sure like the authentication carried forward and the user's claims and all that stuff, right? And they came back in after, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour, and they're like, yeah, we know how to do that now. So like that helped us like plan because we took like a little time right there during our planning meeting to learn something that would help us with our delivery. So that was kind of a fun story. And then another kind of fun story would be like the unknowns. So someone kind of new to project management role at this organization was like, yeah, so like, how do we get a list of all of our unknown unknowns? Like, when can I have that list? And we're like, oh, well, you're not getting that list because we're going to figure those out when we run into them. So we had to build in some time into our project for that. So this can be helpful, like if you're thinking through your work, what do you know and what don't you know? Okay, so now I'm going to move on to a couple different tools that you can help. So first step, kind of think about your problem, what you know, what you don't know, figure out what domain it's in, what planning techniques will help you. And then we'll move into a few different tools that can help you. These might be really helpful in figuring out like what the right thing to build is. So we're going to start with this one. This is the 4 big risks of product development. Is this familiar with anybody? It comes from Marty Kagan, and he's a big product management guy out in San Francisco. And these are the type of risks that your product managers, do you work with product managers? Yeah, okay, so you might wonder, like, what does your product manager do? And they have a pretty tough job, actually. Like, they have to figure out how your product is going to be valuable, right? They have to figure out, like, if we build this, are people going to use it? Are people going to buy it? Like, they have to figure that risk out. If we build it, can the people who use it figure out how to do their job with it, right? And that's this usability risk. If you have a user experience group at your organization or designers, you can usually figure out the usability problem if you have like some skilled folks in that area that can help you with usability. But that's another risk. Feasibility is probably where most of you in this room come into play. Like, can we build this? Do we have the team, the knowledge, the skills? Like, is what you're asking for something like we can actually pull off, right? That's feasibility risk. And then viability would be like how it fits in with your business model of your company, right? Like, yeah, we could do that, but it's not sustainable for our business, or we can't afford to do that for our business, right? Like maybe we don't have enough funding, or maybe we have a different distribution model. So your product managers are like working on these risks all the time. And one of the things about these risks is like these are all uncertainties. Like they don't know with any certainty that this is the thing you should build or not. And they have to figure out how to do that. So how the heck do they do that, right? One of the ways that I like to do this is working with product managers and going through and taking all the ideas. I heard someone up here earlier talking about he had an idea for you, and that you could convince anyone about the idea. That sponsors shout out right before my talk. You can convince anyone about your idea if you have data, right? So we'll get to that. But they've got all these ideas. Ideas are coming at them left and right. Like customers are sending in requests. Like the VP of marketing has a request. Your CIO has a request. Like the users have requests. Like you have requests as developers. You all have ideas. And you all think your idea is like the one we should do, right? And what I've done with the product people that I work with is we just take all those ideas and we just plot them on this 2x2, right? So we're going to take all these ideas that people have and we're going to sort them based off of the perceived value that they're going to bring to like helping you achieve this outcome for your user. And so you kind of do that high and low, right? And then you ask yourself the question about like how clear is the path that we have to delivering on this? How much evidence do I have? Like, is it like my idea and I don't have a lot of evidence? I'm just really convicted to it. Is it like where is our confidence on this? Like from low to high? Like if we build this, will it achieve those outcomes? Like if our certainty is less, then we need to be doing activities for discovery on those. And that's a big part of a product manager's job. So the things on this chart here that have the most uncertainty, that's in that box, right? Like ideas worth discovering. We don't know yet. Those have so much uncertainty. Things that are in like ideas worth delivering, we have a lot more certainty on that path. We at least know that we're willing to take the next step in building that. So let's see. I've got a few examples. I've got a few examples. I can share some stories. So the worst investment you can make is building something that's going to cost you a lot of money and no one's going to use it, right? That first slide, you built something that nobody used. So some example we had was we had a VP from the marketing area that had an idea. And he had an idea that we needed to build a product that the competitors had it, but they were discontinuing it. And so if we built it, we would capitalize on all that market share. Like, it would come to us. And we were sure, like, well, like, let's figure some things out about this before we make this investment, because that's pretty big investment for us to make. So we did a few different activities as far as like working with our distribution network, finding out, asking them questions about their use of that product. And if we built it, like, would that be something that they would want? And turns out through several visits and data capture that they didn't want us solving that problem. They were like, that is not the problem we want you to investing your team on. Like, that would be the last thing we'd pick. We'd pick something else. So we like learned through this evidence gathering process, like that would be something that we wouldn't do. But in the past, we might have just like sent that project over to the team, right? And then you'd end up spending all of your time building, caring for this system that no one would use. So this is kind of a nice chart to use to help figure that out. So how do you know where to slide this thing on the evidence scale? I gave you a little bit of a story about talking to users. I've really liked this wheel since I've learned about it pretty recently. This is from a gentleman named Itmar, and he has a book out that I also really like. But the idea here is to use this confidence wheel to help you with evaluating your ideas. And so the way you use this is you start at the top, and the things as you go around to the, as you kind of like go clockwise around this circle, those ideas have very little confidence that they're going to deliver the outcomes that you want, right? There's some near zero and very low, but those are things like, it's my idea, I have a pitch deck, or this project aligns with our corporate strategy, or we have a plan to deliver this. We think we can execute this. But those are all things that are like inside your organization. Those are data points coming from people that are internal to your company. And once you turn the wheel, turn the bottom of the curve here, and you start going up, you're getting out and talking to people outside your organization. You're talking, and maybe in your case, it might be the developers. This might be where you're like, if you're on this platform team, and you need to talk to a developer who's going to use your platform. So this is where you're starting to talk to folks that are outside of your organization. This is where you're talking to people who are going to use the product. So there's some different techniques for building your evidence, and the more that you gather, the more compelling story you have that this is the right thing to build, supported by evidence. So I like to use this with my teams and product folks, and so this doesn't have to take months and months and months to figure out, right? Like, you can time box this type of discovery. We'll talk about time boxing our discovery. Like, what would you learn if you had a month to talk to people about how they were going to use your product? Well, I'd do these things. I would talk to this distribution channel. I'd talk to this distribution channel. I would like go on a couple site visits. I would maybe do some surveys. Like, they build out a discovery plan, right? And then we start ratcheting it down. Well, what would you do if you only had 2 weeks? What would you do if you only had 2 days, right? So we are building a discovery plan. And what this does for like helping you, like, it will help you drive through some of that uncertainty, and it'll move it closer to a certainty space. And the planning for this is really comfortable for folks. They can now have a plan, like, here's the things I'm going after to do discovery on, and here's the things that my team is going to be building, and here's where I'm going next. So it's a nice way to show confidence in your planning activities and making sure you're doing the right ones. So I think I have 5 minutes left. Okay. So this, if you're kind of wondering, like, how might you do these evidence gathering techniques, this is just a sampling from Nielsen Norman Group. They're a UX user research group, and they've got a lot more information on their site. I've linked it below. But the big point I guess we want to make here is, like, you are not your user. Like, you are not your user, and you might know how to use a system to, like, upload that file because you, like, navigate to here, you click this hamburger menu or whatever we call them these days, kebabs, I don't know. Like, anyway, you navigate to there, you go down, then you click this button, and then, like, 4 or 5 clicks down, then that's how you get to do the job. Like, you know it because you're working in that thing every day, you're building it, but your user, they don't know. Like, how do they find it, right? Like, how do they know that that's where to go? And so things like usability testing, user interviews, surveys, et cetera, can help you. And all of these activities, whether you want quantitative, qualitative, all of that. So this is a good research group that'll help you out. But talking to your customers, like, it can change your life. Like it will really, like, enlighten you. I watched a lady, I had this idea given to our team that said, we have to improve performance on this application. Like, okay, like, performance. Okay, like, you probably get tickets like that all the time. We want to increase the performance of something, right? And it was really like, we could easily just disregard it. Like, performance, like, we got other things to build, you know. And I was on a site visit and I saw this lady as she fired up the application, and the first thing she had to do was search for something. So she searched, hit the search button, then she walked off, and she's like, went to get a cup of coffee. And then she came back, and I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, like, if I'm lucky, I can go over and get my coffee, come back, the search will have found, like, what it needs to. It takes that long, Jodi. It takes that long to do the search. And then sometimes it times out on me, so, like, then I got to do it again. And so that was a powerful moment for me, right? Like, I'm watching and I'm like, yeah, like, this isn't just a ticket that says improve the performance. This is, like, this lady's job every morning, and how much time is, like, she's struggling with trying to just get this search to work. So talking to your users, that's the bottom line there, I guess. Use your UX friends. They can help you out immensely if you have them on your teams. And then one more tool that can help you is, it's called the story map. I don't know if folks are using those on your teams. This comes from Jeff Patton. And what I like about story maps is this is more when you're in the execution phase. And, like, we've decided this is the right thing to build. We have the confidence and the data built up that this is the right thing to do. And now, how are we going to go about delivering it? We're going to take some small releases. We don't want to, like, do everything in a big batch, and you're probably used to teams. Your teams are probably used to doing that these days. But we want to really break it down so that we're solving, like, one problem at a time, or we're putting an idea in front of our users that will help us achieve one outcome, right? Sometimes we get these releases that get really, really big, and it's because we're trying to achieve too many goals in one, right? So we're trying to, like, increase, like, click rates, and we're trying to, like, help them get their job done quicker, and, like, we and all these things together, and. So the best way to go about this is anytime you're hearing, like, ands, that's an opportunity for you to split up the work differently. So this is a nice way to show that planning. We've been using it a lot with executives and leaders, and they really like being able to see the release breaks, and it just helps us, like, each week stay, like, on the path, right? And it gives us an option. So if we run into something that we didn't know, we ran into something, we hit one of those unknowns that was out there. This gives us an opportunity to, like, address it. We have options. We can stop after one release. We don't have to continue if it doesn't fit our market segment anymore. So quite a few tips and tricks there. I have just a summary slide for you. So categorize your problems. Plan for learning, and learning is going to help you move from what you don't know to what you do know. Use the evidence-guided matrix to help you create plans and communicate them, how you're working through the uncertainty, and then releases will help you show that plan and keep your options open for when you run into things that you didn't anticipate. That's all I've got. If you want more information, I did also give another short talk on this, like a 16-minute talk. It's on Lean Techniques website. It's additional tips for helping you figure out what to build. You can just hit up our website and watch it there. All right, thank you.